Hello, pals, friends, besties. Welcome back to my channel. I decided to make another video. I think I want to stand up. I think I'm over the sitting down era. You go up there. I'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm in a mood today because I'm very excited because we are finally talking about my favorite author of all time, T Kingfisher. Sorry, I need to calm down because this video is crazy. We're gonna talk about T Kingfisher today, guys. I'm really excited because you know I love her. I talk about her all the time. Truthfully, I should not be saying favorite author of all time because T Kingfisher has not always been my favorite author. She really only came into my realm of understanding in the last several years, but oh boy, as soon as I discovered her, yes, I discovered her. No one else has ever read her. As soon as I discovered her, I immediately bought like as many of her books as possible, which is more difficult than it sounds. I'll explain in a second. And I've been just catching up on her backlist ever since she came into my life. Okay. Who is T Kingfisher? If you've heard her name before, but you're not entirely sure where, you've probably heard of one of her 3 most popular books, Nettle and Bone, What Moves the Dead, or this year's A House with Good Bones. 2 of these are technically horror and 1 of them is technically fantasy, but this is the thing about T Kingfisher, she subverts genres. That's a phrase that's used about so many authors, but when it comes to T Kingfisher, that is actually true. She's known primarily as a horror author, that's like her big thing, but even her books that fall into fantasy are definitely horror-ish. They're all spooky gothic fantasies. She also writes romantasy, and yeah, the only romantasy I've ever actually liked is by T Kingfisher. And she writes children's books. Okay. Let's start at the beginning. Believe it or not, T Kingfisher is not her real name. She was not born T. I don't know if T actually even stands for anything. T Kingfisher was in fact born Ursula Vernon. Irrelevant fact, but she was born in Japan. I just found out while researching for this video. And under the name Ursula Vernon is where she writes her kiddo books. Her children's stuff includes things like Hamster Princess and Dragon Breath, but most notably, and my favorite, is the one I'm holding in my hand, Digger Unearthed. This is a graphic novel series, and in 2012 she actually won the Hugo for Best Graphic Novel. The Hugo is a huge, major literary award if you're not familiar. It's like one of the top ones. In my personal opinion, it's the one I look for. If I see awards on books and I see Hugo, you know what that meant. She also won a Hugo for Nettle and Bone, which I own 2 copies of. This is the UK edition, but I also have the US edition, which I took the dust jacket off so that I could see the cute foil. This book is really good. If you don't trust me, trust the Hugos. Notably, she's also won a Nebula Award, another award that I look for on books, for her short story, Jackalope Wives. I haven't read it myself, but I really should. And then she's won like a whole bunch of other awards that I don't know what they are, but look, she's winning awards. She won the Mythopoeic Award a bunch of times. Okay, all right, let's focus our thoughts. I'm here to talk to you about why she's my favorite author and why I think she's so versatile, if not the most versatile author in today's age, if not ever. Which of her books are my absolute faves and must-reads. Some big exciting news about T Kingfisher that's just come out recently, like 3 different things. And I don't know, I'm just gonna show you books. The first T Kingfisher book I read was What Moves the Dead, which came out last year, 2022. Yes, 2022. This is a novella published by Nightfire, as most horror novellas are, and it has a sequel coming out in February, this coming up year 2024, called What Feasts at Night. I went into this knowing that it was a Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe retelling, and therefore expecting a creepy gothic horror story, not really knowing much about T Kingfisher or her writing at the time. I was so pleasantly surprised by this book because yeah, it's a horror and it has some awesome body horror, some disgusting, mushroomy, mycophobic stuff in here, and it's creepy and unsettling, but it's also hilarious. This book is whimsical and funny and clever and so well researched and so well written, and I think that just sums up entirely what T Kingfisher's writing is all about. One of my absolute favorite things about the way T Kingfisher writes is that she hyperfixates. She picks a subject, becomes an expert in it, and then writes a book about it. And I love that because it's me. It's ADHD. For What Moves the Dead, it was mushrooms. For A House with Good Bones, here's the Broken Binding special edition. It's bugs and plants. And for Paladin's Grace, it's perfume. Seriously, all of her books have something in it where she was like, I like this niche interest, I'm gonna research it, and my main character is now an expert in that thing, and that's what the book is really about. But also it's terrifying and creepy and whimsical. And the stories really do range from her best-selling horror fantasy, like the books I've already mentioned, to genuinely creepy, lesser-known horror, like The Hollow Places and The Twisted Ones, to absolutely nonsensical, ridiculous stuff like A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking and The Clockwork Boys, to cutesy romanticies like the Saint of Steel series and Sword Heart. I currently own about 14 of her books, and I only started reading them a few years ago, but another thing I love about T Kingfisher's writing is that it's so short, and usually a standalone, or at least like a duology. Thank you, thank you. I don't know how to read. This means that she can push out many books a year. So as you know, in 2023, A House with Good Bones was a massive release from Tor Nightfire again that came out by T Kingfisher, but she also, like almost immediately after, released Thornhedge, published just by regular Tor, which is a creepy, dark fantasy Sleeping Beauty retelling. This lady is just churning out books and we love her for it. One of the reasons she's able to do this is because a lot of her books are actually self-published, which is like crazy unheard of for me. She is a Nebula and Hugo award-winning published author with Tor and Saga and Tor Nightfire and Orbit, I think, and Titan, that's the other one. But she's also just putting out her cute little weird, creepy, dumb romance books for fun on the side that are also making a killing. And some of these are the best, most popular ones. And that leads me to one of the first exciting things that got announced. The Broken Binding, who does a lot of different fantasy and sci-fi special editions that we're all obsessed with, who also recently did this copy with the pink sprayed edges of A House with Good Bones. Well, they've just announced that they are doing a special edition of Nettle and Bone. Now, I already own it twice. Am I gonna get the new one? You bet your ass I am. It looks like they're essentially using this cover, but they're including the foilings from this underneath and they're putting some of their own twists on it. And with the second piece of news I'm gonna share in a bit, I bet you that this is gonna be a thing, that the Broken Binding is gonna be doing a lot of T Kingfisher's backstock, which is very exciting because they have all the art they need right at their fingertips, because you see these gorgeous end papers. She's got little illustrations and end papers in all her books. She does those herself. Shouldn't be a surprise since she's a Hugo Award-winning graphic novelist. So yeah, she's also a spectacular illustrator and her art is creepy and awesome. She did these end papers as well. The second cool bit of T Kingfisher news comes straight to us from Tor Nightfire, and is that they are releasing the paperback of A House with Good Bones. The buns tried to kill me. I'll put it up on the screen, but I also have it up on my phone because I've just been staring at it. Again, I already own this book twice, but god dang, that paperback is stunning, and we're getting it. I'm gonna have to make an entire T Kingfisher shelf in my home because I'm gonna have too many books. I already do. I'm gonna get more. The last piece of news that just came out this week, and I think this is the most exciting piece of news that came out, is that Orbit Books UK has just acquired the rights to five of T Kingfisher's self-published backstock. That includes Sword Heart and the Saint of Steel series. I don't know what the fifth book is, because there's 3 of these. And then this. I don't know what the 5th book's gonna be. Just info-wise, the ebooks are already available from them, and the hardcover physical books, that's what I meant to say, physical books are gonna be available in spring 2025, which is too far away, but I'm still excited that it's happening. Why am I so excited if I already own them? Like I said, these are self-published, which means a lot of stores do not carry these. They're really hard to find, and they're insanely expensive. The Saint of Steel series in particular, bonkers expensive. I picked up this paperback copy of the first one at Powell's in Portland. Just pure luck, it was on sale, so I was able to get it, but my gosh. So this acquisition through Orbit means that her books are gonna be so much more accessible to more people. And you're not gonna be just getting the little novellas from Tor that she puts out, you're gonna get the full-size novels now from Orbit. I'm so happy. I forgot to show you also that a lot of my books are signed. I didn't meet her, but at Capricorn, the vendor there had just run into T Kingfisher and gotten her whole stock signed, so I bought them. Like all of them, they're all signed, except for my new ones. Oh well. I don't know if I've done a good job yet convincing you to read T Kingfisher. I feel like I need to just say a couple more things real quick before we go. T Kingfisher writes in every genre. If you are a fan of literally anything, you should pick up one of her books. Come to me personally and tell me what you like and I'll tell you which book to read. Her books are so unique. Even her fairy tale retellings, which we've seen 1,000 times, her takes on them, unbelievably creative and fun and beautiful. She focuses on impactful, important issues, not just being creepy and funny and whatever. Nettle and Bone and Paladin's Grace in particular have a lot of strong themes about abusive relationships, and she goes there. She don't hold back. I already said it, and you know I need it. Her books are very tiny baby books. They're still small, which means I can read a lot of them and feel accomplished and happy about myself. It's a good introduction to horror. If you're new to horror, start with her because it's basically fantasy or other genres with a scary aspect to it. So like, you need Rex, I got Rex. She writes for kids, she writes graphic novels, she writes long books, she writes short books. What else can you ask for? And of course, she has dozens of beautiful editions of all her books with many more to come. She's still going. She's still gonna be giving us 4 or 5 books a year. T Kingfisher is truly one of the most underrated authors out there, I think. It's crazy. I know her books aren't big, massive worlds, and maybe that's why people are sleeping on her, but just please do yourself a favor and check out one of her books. I highly recommend Nettle and Bone as a fantasy read. I recommend A House with Good Bones or What Moves the Dead as her horror reads to start with. And if you can get your hands on it, and of course now you can access the ebook through Orbit, the Saint of Steel series is actually phenomenal. I've said before I don't like romance. It's a romance and I loved it. It's politicking, it's sabotage, it's perfumes. It's paladins done right. Anyways, thank you for letting me rant about my favorite author. If I had the chance to meet T Kingfisher, I would go absolutely feral. I can tell you that right now. I've met a lot of cool authors recently. I got to meet Christopher Paolini, I got to meet R. Kwong, I got to meet Jillian McMillan. I'd sell every book in my home to meet T Kingfisher. No, that's not true, but you get the idea, okay? Is that everything I'll have to say about her? I know I'm gonna think of like 12 more things to say as soon as I stop filming. Oh, I should also mention that her books generally are like 4 to 5 stars for me. She's not perfect, pretty damn close. Before I go, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell icon so you know when I upload new videos. I upload 2 days a week. I love you guys. Goodbye.